I am originally from Norway, which you'll see probably impacts my work quite a bit. I moved to New York in 95, 96. I did study in Norway before I came to the States, art. Here I found the Art Students League, which I studied there for a while. Once I had my skills down, I did like I had to do two realistic paintings that came out exactly the way I wanted them to. I dropped completely out of that and said, okay, I have the skill now, what do I want to do with it? And then I sat and scratched my head for several weeks before I started painting on my own. But I don't feel like I got really into myself as a painter till I left all my reference material behind, which was a very, very difficult thing to do. I was very good at working from photographs, and I was very good at copying. I have a lot of skill. I have all that stuff. So the hard part for me was, if you have nothing to look at, and you have to come up with every stroke, every color, every mark on the canvas all by yourself, what do you do then? And to me, that was the biggest challenge I could think of. So of course, that's where I went. This was the first image I did without having any reference material. And the image came from a story that I heard third hand. I live in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and nearby is a Hasidic community. And I heard from a lady, she had gone to swim, evenings, ladies' swim night at the pool there. And she said when she walked into the wardrobe, it was full of dark dresses and wigs. And when she got into the pool, it was full of bold ladies swimming in big flowery dresses. And I was like, oh my gosh, I see this image. Because they shave their heads, so they, once they get undressed, the wig goes. So this was the image. It went through a lot of different stages, but this was the image that came out of that story, and that was the first one I did without any reference material. And this one is my, so far, one museum piece. It's in the Ocala Museum of Fine Arts in Florida. This was on the same idea. Once I learned more about the Hasidics, I was totally fascinated by a lot of their rules and organizations, very different from where I'm coming from, Protestant country in Norway. And I learned that the sexual act there is done through a sheet. You are not touching skin. And I was completely fascinated by this. And this image came, which also to me has to do with trying to protect yourself. Easy to poke through anyway, we still get hurt. And you see the kind of slit in the front here where, it still has a painful sort of sense. So these bold ladies, I guess, just stuck with me because that's pretty much what I've done ever since. They're full-size figures. They're now more, not necessarily women anymore. They could be both. And I wanted to show, just from being from Norway, landscape and the colors, because these are the colors you'll see in all my work. And sometimes people ask me, why are these the colors you use? And I can only say I think I grew up with them. I think they're part of me. This is a painting called Strength. It's 78 by 46. So most of my figures are about life size. And this painting, I painted these figures, these standing straight up and down female figures, a lot. To me, I think they have to do with a mirror, sort of meeting a new version of yourself, maybe finding an answer you didn't know you had a question for. The painting tells me, hopefully, what it's supposed to be. This came somewhat out of a question that I got from a student who were visiting, and they said, why don't you paint any men? All of them are women. And I was like, yeah, that's right. I never thought of that. So I said, maybe I'll try to paint a man. And so I was starting and I was painting, and I was like, how does a man hold his arms? And it came, that was like what I could think of. Man, strength, And then as I was working, I was like, I can't paint a man. I don't know what it feels like to paint a man. And feelings are very important to me in my work. There needs to be some evoking of some emotion in it. And I need to feel something strongly. Not that I need to know exactly what it is, but I need to feel something. So then I was like, no, this is becoming a female figure again. But then the arms got left. The arms stuck in the painting. So I don't know if now she's forced into them, if she pulled them on to gain some extra strength. I don't know, but she has that extra strength in her arms there. And there's another just quick landscape painting. Landscape photo. I took this in Norway last winter. Again, you can see where my colors come from. Funny doing this after your very colorful work, because mine is, I say I'm a gray painter, I love gray, but when you look, there is a lot of color in each one of these paintings. It's kind of hidden a little bit more like, something precious, like little jewels, little sparkles around in the work. This is one called Rain. I've also played a little bit with sculptural work. So this is a piece I did at a residency in Virginia, and they had all these branches and things around there, and it was actually talking about music and jazz. One of the residents played this beautiful piece of music, and I closed my eyes, and this figure just like wove itself in my head. And the next day I went out and started dragging branches into my studio, and somebody said, "What, are you nesting?" and so I started building it inside, and then I finished it outside. And I think it's now sort of gone back to nature, but it stood there for at least 2 years. So this is a very large piece. It's a triptych. It's 78 by 138. It's called Lullaby. And since I don't work from images I have ahead of time, and I also don't decide all the time what the image is going to be, I can't say 100% what this is about, but some people see a ring and some people see a child, like a wrapped child here. And I think my intention was more the child idea, but also about something precious. And it seems this character, this figure, is not paying attention to what's precious that's kind of floating around them. This one is called Sisters. I'm the older sister. I did several paintings and also some sculptural work based on our relationship. And in many ways, I feel like I became myself as a person when my sister came. A couple of these. This one is called Sisters Crouching. And I think in a lot of my work, there's a lot of tension. There's this like still awaiting sense and for something that's gonna happen, or maybe something that has happened. And in this one specifically, I feel that very much like I'm wondering, are they going to jump at each other? Are they playing? Are they going to hug each other? What's going to happen next here?
Is that Sisters again?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Again, just awaiting the next move. And I'm showing you 3 drawings from a series I did, I think about a year ago, called One and Other. And if you say that fast, it's one another. So it's this idea of like what makes us different, how do we separate ourselves as people versus connect. In many of them, one will have a hat or gloves, how we dress to belong to different groups, how we sort of distance ourselves as people. Called Traveler. This one and the Lullaby ones were part of about 5 or 6 paintings that I submitted 2 years ago to a competition in London called the London International Creative Competition, which I actually won, which was very exciting. I have a catalog from that which you can send around. You can see that. This painting is called White. It's also fairly large. It has eyes spread out on it. I read a lot of books on neuroscience and science and things, and I think part of the eye idea in this was the way we see, maybe we see with more than our eyes, maybe we actually see with our skin, and our surroundings affect us. This one is called Lines. Again, the image of the straight up and down figure. I think this figure might be trying to fit in or break out, or it was a forest for part of the painting, then it became these lines, then it kept going back and forth, and eventually the painting tells me where it needs to be. This one is called A Head. It's also rather large, 88 by 78. One of those paintings I just started painting, and the figure came out and the arms flew away, and I can't, as with many of my paintings, I can't really say what it's about. It's oftentimes I have to sit down and figure it out myself after the fact. Then I'm going to quickly, again, I'm touching on your seasons here. I did the 4 seasons.
People done that.
Yeah, so I wanted to do them very my own way, as you were talking about as well. So this is spring. Giving the figure all these spring flowers, and there's a little dead bird in the one hand, because I do see that in New York in springtime. That's part of it. It seems like so. Summer, which if you go around in the dining room area, it's hanging there. So I thought it was fun to show you guys these images, and then you can actually see the real paintings and see what a big difference there are between seeing images and actually the work. Then we have fall, which is hanging right there, and yeah, it's much more fun to look at it in person. And then winter, which for me is a Norwegian, of course. Is now I'm going to show you some pieces that are brand new that I haven't shown to anybody before. So this one is called Late. It's 84 by 88. The newest work is the work I generally have the least to say about, because I haven't learned it yet. I had fun with the light bulb in this. I put in a regular light bulb, and then I was like, well, Gustin did that, and it's so obvious. Then I was looking in my studio, I was like, well, my light bulbs are different. There's these curly ones, like you have too. So then I'll make it my light bulb.
Does it bother you if people read a story into the work?
No, I love that. I think for me it adds to what I can learn from it too. Because I don't have a story made already.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Does it distract you if somebody says, "Oh, that looks like so and so doing such and such, and this is this person relating to that person," and does that make it less evocative for you?
No, for me it rather adds, because I don't have much of a story either, and oftentimes like I have school classes visiting or things like that, they come up with all these great stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to say that about it, because I didn't know that it had that in it too. So most of the time I feel like it adds to it. Of course sometimes I might not agree with it, but then I don't have to take that, and I don't have to say anything about it, and let them have their story too, because there is no one story in any of this. So this one I was also thinking about maybe conversation in the studio at night where you're talking to your work, it's this.
Did you, can I ask something?
Yeah.
There was one prior to this a few back, but I'll relate to this one. You said you didn't start with the figure in mind, it kind of developed as you were painting. Well, this particular one seems more conscious that you were planning on having figures there. Tell us about that. Did you plan on that, or did the figures develop?
Yeah, oftentimes I feel like my ideas are not related to words at all, so I don't have an idea that ties to something that, like a story or something that can be told. I feel like slides fall down in my head. Ding! Here's a new image, and I'm like, oh, look at that. And then sometimes I'll sketch it down. Sometimes I'll just go right to the canvas. Sometimes I'll put up a piece of canvas, sit and look at it till the picture appears on the canvas. This one I did have a little sketch. My sketches are generally like this size, many on a page, just itty bitty little ones that are just as they come in. I'll try to jot them down quickly. So there's very little when I start, and then it builds. I don't think it had the light bulb. It didn't have the chair. It had, they're all very simple images. I don't. Probably again, my Scandinavian thing is we like things very simple and clean. This one is my largest piece to date. I call it 1032, just referring to any time. This one, for those of you who knows Edvard Munch, you might see some reference in that. It's very obvious in this one. So I did not look at Munch, much like your relationship with Pollock. He was too obvious. He was there all the time. I'm from Norway. He's the one painter. So I did not look at him till the big retrospective at MoMA, and I went there and I was like, duh. Clearly what I'm doing has a similar sensibility. We're both emotional. It's from your mind. It's, that Scandinavian thing. It has a darkness, a heaviness, an intensive, feeling to it. So this one is very kind of directly derived from his inspiration. A new one too. This one is called Hold. I do not know if holding, pulling, what's coming out on the corner there. I hope it appears someday so I see it too.
Seems like the figures are getting more androgynous.
Yeah, they are. They are becoming less female. Maybe as get more comfortable with being female, they don't have to be so female anymore. This one is hat. This one is a little smaller. These two are 37 by 53. Again, it went through a lot of different types of hats. This one I felt like it needed something to help hold the hat up, and I thought it was hysterically funny when I kind of thought of using one of Dolly's, crutches under there. And I was laughing at myself the whole time, And this is the last one I'll show. This one is called Tree, based on the Daphne and Apollo myth, Greek myth. There have been many of these Daphne and Apollo paintings done where she's turning into a tree. They're all super romantic and pretty, and I thought I'll kind of, this would be in some way my own version of that. I can't see so well, but she's holding little leaves, and there's a bird over there with a nest on her head. I'm very happy with the light. Of course, look at the real works that are here.